Today I fucked up by telling my Italian mother-in-law I was getting more vagina this afternoon. My wife is Italian, and my mother-in-law doesn't speak very much English. My Italian is pretty mediocre. I can get around Milan, my vocabulary is decent, but my pronunciation and grammar are both horrible, and I will get words confused. My wife was FaceTiming with her mom yesterday morning, and I popped over to say ciao to her. She started asking me the basics: how are things, how's work, etc. And then she asked my plan for the weekend. I told her I was going to be running errands all morning. And then I tried to tell her in the afternoon we were going to be getting piovigini, a little rain. Instead, I told her we were going to be getting più vagina, more vagina. My wife immediately gave me a look of absolute horror and pulled the phone away. Her mom was silent, and I couldn't see her face. "What?" she said incredulously in English. I looked at her confused and said it again. "Più vagina." Her reaction I can best describe through emojis. "What are you trying to say? That it's going to be raining a bit later?" "Piovigine?" I could hear her mom erupt in laughter once she realized what I did. It took me another moment to figure out what I had said, then I turned beet red. And that is the last time I'll be talking to her for a while. TLDR, I was trying to tell my Italian Emil we were going to have piovigine, a little rain. Instead, I told her we were going to have più vagina, more vagina. Today I fucked up by believing a work prank on April 1st and embarrassing myself in front of everyone. At work, my boss sent out an all-staff email saying that the company was implementing a 4-day workweek experiment starting next month. We would all get Fridays off with full pay as long as productivity remained high. I nearly lost my mind with excitement. I even replied, "This is amazing, best boss ever," before reading the rest of the email, where he mentioned how this was part of a global initiative called April Fools for Better Work-Life Balance. Realizing my mistake, I tried to unsend the email, but it was too late. People were already reacting with laughing emojis in the company group chat. To make it worse, my boss personally replied, "Glad to see you're passionate about work-life balance. Unfortunately, your excitement is also part of the experiment, how easily employees fall for corporate jokes." But that's not even the worst part. Feeling like a fool, I went home and told my roommate about it. And he tried to comfort me by saying, "Hey, at least you weren't like my friend who fell for that fake celebrity death hoax today." That's when I made TIFU number 2. I immediately pulled out my phone and went, "Wait, who died?" He just stared at me. Dude, that was the prank. So yeah, my entire day was one long chain of getting clowned on. Moral of the story, triple check everything on April 1st. Or just trust no one. TLDR, believed a fake 4-day workweek announcement, embarrassed myself at work, then fell for another April Fool's prank. Today I fucked up by mistaking a medical response for an orgasm. TIFU actually happened today, so I got the best head of my life earlier today from this guy. No joke, first guy to get me to come from head alone, and I felt one of the best orgasms of my life. I felt my abdomen contract and tingles all over my body like my nerves were on fire. Then it persisted for a couple minutes, and I was wondering if this is a real orgasm, and what have I been missing all my life? Started getting itchy all over, and I asked the guy if he did any drugs, and he said no. A few minutes later on the bus home, I'm getting hives and a runny nose, and realized I'm probably allergic to his cat hair. Still best head ever. TLDR thought I had a heavenly out-of-this-world orgasm, but instead it was an orgasm coinciding with an allergic reaction. Perfect timing. Today I fucked up by saying yes to my aunt and losing 11K. This happened a few months ago, but I still get stomach cramps when I think about it. I was buying my first home. I had my financing lined up, found a place I loved, and had already spoken to the seller directly. Everything was moving smoothly. Then my aunt, who's a part-time real estate agent, found out and said, "Let me take care of it for you. It'll be easier, and I'll make sure you don't get screwed." I didn't even ask for help, but she started calling the seller, forwarding emails and inserting herself into the whole thing. And of course, she threw in the classic guilt trip. "Don't you trust family?" I figured whatever. If it makes her happy and it's less stress for me, cool. Nope, she completely dropped the ball. Missed an important deadline that nearly lost me the house. Sent me the wrong documents twice. Didn't explain anything unless I followed up multiple times. I eventually paid out of pocket for a real estate attorney just to make sure I wasn't getting screwed. We finally closed. I was just relieved it was over. Then I saw the closing statement. She made $11,500 in commission for doing basically nothing. I swear, she showed up to one showing wearing Crocs and sunglasses and spent the rest of the process forwarding emails like a boomer tech support scammer. And the kicker? No thank you. No gift. Just a Facebook post, so proud of my amazing client for closing on his first home. Like, ma'am, I was your nephew, not your client. And I basically paid your mortgage for the next 3 months. I've been avoiding family dinners ever since. TLDR, let my aunt help with my first home purchase out of guilt. She barely did anything, nearly ruined the deal, and walked away with 11.5K. Edit, a lot of people mentioned that the seller usually pays commission, but with the recent NR changes, I ended up having to cover it. It got rolled into the loan, but that's still 11K out of my pocket. I've decided I'm going to confront my aunt. She's a stone-cold bitch. But whatever. I've seen a lot of people mention that this could have been avoided if I had known about sites like FSBO.com and Replace Realtors.com. I honestly didn't even know those existed. Are there any other platforms or tools like that I should check out for next time? Today I fucked up by giving back my engagement ring to my fiancé and telling him to get out of my house. So I 27F was engaged to a 29 men. We will call him O. We've been engaged for a year and our wedding was set to be in October. Yesterday, him and I picked out furniture for our new home. Then he came to spend the night with me. It started super friendly and we were joking and taking about our future home. One thing led to another. The joking, and he escalated it by throwing a tissue box at me. Tissue box hit me square in the face and I saw red. I started throwing all kinds of stuff at him and he kept laughing. He then handed me a tissue, implying that I wiped my tears that were about to fall. He knew I felt mad, but he kept laughing. So I told him to get out of my house and his laughter subsided but didn't budge. In my rage, I threw a box of cookies at him and it scattered everywhere. So he ignored my requests for him to leave and started picking up the cookies. I felt awful for the rage episode, but I couldn't shake it off. And before I knew what I was doing, I went to my room and took out my ring box, put the ring in it and slammed it on the table in front of him. He then called my dad and Dad came, calmed me and him down, took the ring box out of my hand and kept it with him. And he told us to wait until we have calmed down to make a calculated decision. Today my ex-fiancé called my dad and told him that it's over and he couldn't get past this rage episode. And now I'm collecting his stuff to give back to him. I can't know how exactly am I feeling. I haven't cried one tear, mostly because I've been too mad to cry. But today it feels final and I still don't know what I want. Did I make the right decision? Or should I try to talk to him and ask him to forgive me? P.S. He blocked me everywhere, so IDK, how to even talk to him? If I decide it was my fault and try to make it right. TLDR, my fiancé and I were playing and joking when he threw a box of tissues in my face. So I got mad and started throwing everything I could reach at him and gave back his ring and kicked him out of my house. Today I fucked up by making a 5 big booms joke on a first date. Wow. I never thought I'd post on a subreddit like this. But I came back from a first date a couple of hours ago and am still feeling absolutely mortified. So maybe writing it out will feel cathartic. I 20F recently downloaded Hinge for the first time and began swiping. I've never gone out on a date through a dating app before, so safe to say I was absolutely shitting bricks for tonight's first date with Brian 22M. Although we started talking off of the app prior to the date, we hadn't actually spoken on the phone. So I didn't really know what to expect in terms of how our conversation would flow in person. Fast forward to tonight, and we ended up meeting at this cute paint bar. Everything was going great until the topic of pets was brought up. He noticed my lock screen of my cat and asked if it was mine. I said yes and asked about his pets, as I remembered he had a pic with 2 dogs on his profile. He got out his phone to show me pictures of them and sadly told me how one of them, a white crunchy-looking Yorkie named Roxy, had recently passed after New Year's. Now, I have no idea what possessed me in that moment, maybe Satan, maybe Roxy, but I simply responded, or she gets 5 big booms. He weirdly looked at me and just went, what? It was in that moment I knew I fucked up. He didn't get the reference. I knew I had already shot myself in the foot when I said it, as I'm awful when it comes to sensitive topics like death or grieving. But I had hoped he'd let out a little laugh and we'd move on. But no. I initially tried sweeping it under the rug by saying, oh, it's nothing, it's just from this silly video, but he proceeded to ask me to show it to him. I awkwardly laughed and went, really? Really? So I opened up TikTok and showed him the clip. Brian, and I'm assuming Roxy RIP, didn't find it funny. He just sat there and went, "Oh, I get it now." From that point, I knew the date was doomed. So I just gave him an apologetic smile and tried to make the most of things by placating the situation. Thankfully, we were wrapping up with our paintings by then. All in all, now I know not to try to lighten the mood of a grieving dog parent by bringing up a brain rot joke, especially on a first date. Sorry, Brian, and sorry, Roxy. You deserve more than 5 big booms. TLDR. I said a stupid TikTok joke in response to a first date telling me about his recently deceased dog. I then proceeded to show him said video, as he didn't understand the reference, thus digging myself an even deeper hole. Update, I think this is where you put it. Oh, my God. I'm a little terrified at how over 400,000 people viewed my story, but it looks like my faux pas made at least a few of you smile, so at least there's that. Brian, which DW isn't his real name, to all of our surprise, texted me this morning saying how he had a good time last night and would like to see me again. I guess the 5 big booms didn't scare him away after all. In all seriousness though, thank you for the much-needed laugh. And for those who are disappointed by my TikTok usage, try not to worry about the future generation too much. We can be driven and also enjoy an extremely dumb joke here and there. Today I fucked up by yelling they had sex in a Zoom meeting with my boss and coworkers. This is something that actually just happened an hour ago. I work completely remote and had a weekly Zoom meeting with my boss and 7 other coworkers with varying levels of authority, and they were talking about something rather important. Now, before you judge me super hard, I actually have my Zoom settings set up to automatically mute when entering meetings. I usually keep it on mute at all times unless I need to talk. This meeting was a little different because I needed to give my input on the topic. So when I joined the meeting, I decided to unmute. Big mistake. My wife and I recently decided that we would get a dog via a dog breeder. We had already put down a deposit for a puppy. The parents of our future puppy had yet to mate. But today that changed when the dog breeder posted on their Facebook page announcing that the parents have successfully mated. Unfortunately, English is not my wife's first language. So when she read the post on her phone on the other side of the room, she immediately asked me what mated means. Without a second thought, I yelled to her, "They had sex." The meeting goes quiet for a second and my boss laughs. My heart drops, and I quickly look at my computer screen to see if it was unmuted. The microphone did not have the red slash across it. I could feel the blood rush to my face, and in a flash I clicked the button to mute my microphone. After my boss finished laughing, they continue the meeting as if nothing happened. My wife and I share a laugh about it, but it is easily one of the most embarrassing moments in my life. Yes, I am aware that I'm lucky that this is one of my worst moments. I know it could be so much worse. Writing this out made me feel better though. TLDR, I yelled, "They had sex" to my wife, who did not know what the word mate means. Because English is not her first language while on a Zoom meeting, and my boss and co-workers heard me. Edit. I also want to mention that this is a throwaway account. So, yeah. Today I fucked up by letting a homeless man crash at my place. So I recently moved to a new town about a month ago. I met this homeless guy at a laundromat, and he didn't have any money to wash his clothes, so I help him out. I didn't have any friends yet, and as I've been in hard times before, I decide to hang out with him. So we end up just kicking it the whole day, and I buy him food, booze, and we even got haircuts together, LOL. I thought he seemed pretty genuine, so I let him stay at my place, which turned into a couple nights. His obvious fault was that he was an alcoholic, so I drop him off at a local detox facility. This, of course, ramps up to him getting kicked out and him constantly calling me for help. So I start pushing him away slowly because I can't do everything for this guy. I also learn he's been to like every rehab in the state, but doesn't last more than a week at any of them. Somehow his insurance has covered this. He even just shows up at my door one day, so I regretfully let him stay once more, but this is the last time. Well, today he starts blowing me up again, leaving me tons of messages and voicemails. I say I can't do it anymore, man, I'm sorry. He then leaves a voicemail threatening me, saying he'll go to jail. I'll have to kill him, all this nonsense and screaming the N-word. I'm not even black. He then doubles back and said that wasn't meant for me. It was meant for this other guy he knows with the same name, LMAO. Yeah, we locking the door tonight. TLDR, I let a homeless drunk stay at my place, and now he's threatening me. Today I fucked up by staring at an actress's thighs. I was watching a movie with my GF and her 8-year-old son. Two characters were around a campfire, a woman standing and a man sitting down. The camera angle changed, and it showed the back of the woman who was wearing a pretty short skirt. Her son goes, "Ah, a butt," and covered his eyes. The skirt was short, and you saw her thighs but no butt. The camera angle changes again, then goes back, and he has the same reaction. "Ah, butt," and covers his eyes. I speak up and tell him, "It's just her legs, dude, it's okay." And he goes, "No, the guy's butt." So now my GF goes, "Oh wow, so focused on the girl, you don't notice the guy is completely naked, huh?" She isn't actually upset, but yeah, definitely a foot in mouth moment, lol. TLDR, so distracted by a girl's legs in a movie scene, I didn't realize the male character was naked. Today I fucked up by messing up my solo at the biggest contest of the year. For context, my school band has been preparing for the most important ensemble evaluation contest of the year for about 3 months. One of our songs has a very simple flute solo at the very beginning. Throughout the perhaps 30 times I've played this solo, I haven't messed it up. There's always room for improvement, but I've never technically messed up. There must have been some sort of jinx because right before the contest, my friend said, "You've never messed up your solo." And I was like, this better not be the one time I do. So anyways, we start performing the piece, and I came in a count early and cracked 2 notes. I was mortified. The band recovered, but our director came off the podium after the song to tell me not to worry about it. However, it's like the easiest solo ever, so I messed up the only things I could be messed up. After the performance, we went to the gym, and our director informed us that we got the highest score possible. However, she told me to come up to the front and started talking about my mistake and how well the band recovered. She literally singled me out by name, and I had to sheepishly walk to the front. Thankfully, she was really nice about it and told me I still sounded good even though I didn't. TLDR messed up an easy solo at the most important contest of the year. Extremely embarrassing, but we still got the highest possible score. Today I fucked up because I tried to be the cool dad. My oldest son, who's 15, has had trouble making friends for a lot of his life, but since the start of the school year, he has become very close with 2 other kids in his grade, which my wife and I are extremely happy about. We've been very supportive of him fostering these friendships, which has included taking him to their houses and hosting them at ours, letting him have sleepovers with them, taking them to museums, movies, and stores they want to visit, stuff like that. A little while ago, yes, the actual fuck-up didn't happen today, but I did only find out about it today. My son had a sleepover with his friends. They all stayed in the living room, while my wife and I stayed in our bedroom all night, and our younger 2 sons were staying over with their friends. Once both of my son's friends were here, I told my son that he could feel free to use my card to order dinner, and even rent a movie or something if he and his friends wanted. He and his friends were clearly happy with that, and he said, "Really?" And I said yes, he could order what they wanted and watch whatever. Now I expected them to order pizza, maybe get dessert and breadsticks with it, and probably not need to pay for a movie as we have plenty of streaming services, and even if he did need to pay for something, I expected it to be maybe one rental on Prime that might cost $4 or so. Fast forward to today, and I've forgotten about all of this. I checked our credit card statement and see that it is hundreds of dollars over what I expected. I looked through the transactions and found 2 DoorDash orders totaling over $100 apiece, a $125 Instacart order, multiple charges from Amazon Prime for different streaming subscriptions that I do not remember signing up for, and a Shudder subscription I don't remember signing up for. To make things weirder, many of these transactions went through on different days. I then think the worst, someone's stolen our card information. I told my wife immediately, and we both began calling customer support for these services and called our bank, frantically trying to resolve this and prevent unauthorized spending. Our son then comes out of his room, asks what's happened, and while she's on hold, my wife tells him that it looks like someone has used our card and we're trying to resolve that. He then tells us that all of the charges were from the sleepover. His friends ordered dinner, the first DoorDash order, and snacks that we didn't have, the Instacart order, but also stayed up late enough to want even more food, the second DoorDash order. They also watched a bunch of movies, but instead of one-time rentals or using streaming services we had, they would opt for 7-day free trials whenever prompted. But he forgot to tell me to cancel those subscriptions the next day. TLDR. I let my son use my credit card for a pizza and movie during a sleepover, and he ended up spending hundreds more than I expected. Today I fucked up by losing my wallet for the first time. To say I'm devastated is truly an understatement. I've managed to lose my wallet, which contained not only my ID, but also 400 in cash. This is overwhelming, and I've tried to replay the events in my mind. I've retraced all of my steps meticulously, revisiting the only 2 locations where I got out of the car during the day, since it was in the car for most of the time. I've turned my bedroom inside out, searched every corner, and scoured my car thoroughly, yet I've found nothing. I never take my wallet out with me for this exact reason, as I'm always worried about losing it. I've asked around at both locations where I could have accidentally dropped it and have thoroughly checked my driveway, but still, there's no sign of it. The money was very important. It was the only amount I had left to last me through the rest of April, because I had so many outgoings on payday. Feeling incredibly disappointed in myself right now. TLDR, I lost my wallet with my ID and the only money I had left. Today I fucked up. Slight mishap overcoming type 1 egg allergy may have undone all exposure progress to get over it. So, first let me begin with a little helpful information. There are 2 main types of egg allergy. First is you're allergic to the raw protein that gives eggs their gelatinous texture, which changes in structure when exposed to heat, rendering it perfectly safe to consume when thoroughly well cooked. This means no runny, soft-boiled and/or pasteurized in the least bit at its worst, with the other being simply no egg products. Period, which can even include certain skincare products, medicines, medical treatments, and vaccines. Personally, I'm type 1 and have only recently, within the last few years, reached the extreme end of it, with not being able to enjoy things like mayo, Caesar salad, dressing and eggnog, which I made a separate hellish post on a few years back, if you want to check my history, or I can link it below. Since then, I've been slowly working on exposure therapy to reduce my reaction over time to both pasteurized egg products and cats. Another story, and have seen some success on both ends. I've been able to enjoy small amounts of mayo, kitty cuddles, and some salad dressings since maybe August of last year, with strict monitoring and maintenance of my symptoms reactions, and it's been great. Completely new lease on life with potential hope for enough recovery to one day try soft-boiled eggs several different ways, and enjoy indoor cat company, at least for a little bit, without death waiting in the corner for me. Well, cut to today, where I made Caesar salads for dinner. I severed the salads with homemade croutons, just to be extra fancy. That mistake led to my downfall. Why, you might ask? Croutons are not only crunchy, but abrasive. Eating them meant that I slightly and subtly scratched away at the thin membrane lining of my mouth, gums, and throat, allowing my allergen trigger to penetrate my immune system a little more deeply than it normally should have. Cue massive swelling, burning, and itching from my chapped lips to my mouth and pipes all the way down. I'm currently miserable, tired as hell, and not allowed to sleep until sunrise at the very least, so that I can monitor my symptoms and their progression, just in case it turns into a serious emergency. All I wanted was to enjoy a salad that I rarely get to have, but because I got overzealous, I'm paying the price. And the worst part is that depending on how my body reacts and how I recover, I might have to begin the exposure process all over again, probably at a much slower pace, and it could take years before I'm back to where I was in my journey. Fingers crossed it won't be the worst-case scenario, but we'll find out. TLDR. I was getting over an egg allergy through slow exposure therapy, but decided to eat a salad with croutons and egg-based dressing, which shredded my mouth and throat, leading to an active allergic reaction. Not allowed to sleep tonight as a result, and may have to redo years of progress to get back to this point. Today I fucked up by flirting with my friend and meeting her long-term boyfriend at the worst possible moment. This happened earlier today and I'm still recovering. I saw my best friend, let's call her S, sitting alone in our campus cafe, so I went over to hang out. We were chatting, laughing, and as usual I was throwing in some over-the-top flirty jokes. Nothing serious, just our dynamic. S knows I'm not actually hitting on her, and we've always joked like that. She's been dating her boyfriend, D, for about 3 years. It's long distance, and I'd never met him before, just heard a lot about him. Anyway, we're mid-convo, and I end up saying completely unserious, joking tone. Damn that ass fat, let me get some of that. Yes, I know. Probably not the best thing to say in a public location, but it made sense in context, and we both laughed until someone behind S starts dying laughing. Like full on, can't breathe, tears in his eyes kind of laughing. I look up and go, who are you? In a pretty judgmental tone because I thought it was some random guy listening in. S turns around, laughs and goes, "That's my boyfriend." D, meet my friend A. My soul left my body. This man's first impression of me was hearing me say that out loud to his girlfriend. I just said hi and tried to disappear. Meanwhile, D is still wiping tears from his face and goes, "That was so funny. Couldn't have said it better myself." And then we all just lost it again. But internally I was dying. I have no idea how long he'd been standing there. I didn't even notice him. There's a real chance he heard the whole lead-up, the jokes, the insane shit I said before that, everything. Anyway, pretty sure I'm now fat-ass girl in this man's memory forever. S definitely set me up. I'm sure she knew he was there, and I will never emotionally recover. TLDR, I fake flirted with my best friend in public, dropped an outrageous line about her ass, and then learned her long-distance boyfriend, who I'd never met, was standing right behind her. He thought it was hilarious. I wanted to disintegrate. Today I fucked up by basically admitting to my girlfriend I have a crush on her friend. So my girlfriend and I went to meet her friend and her friend's boyfriend. It went well. Afterward, I was talking to my GF and she jokingly says, "Admit it, you got a little crush on so-and-so." Her friend was really cool and physically attractive. There was no denying that. Now obviously what I should have said is, "Of course not, I only have eyes for you, babe." Instead I said something along the lines of, "I mean, how could you not?" I was half joking, and my GF and I are very open with each other, so I just said what I thought. I felt so bad after though I called and apologized. My GF didn't seem too bothered by it. She admitted it kind of stung, but she said gets it and is fine. I don't really believe her and still feel terrible. I really care for her and hate the fact I might have hurt her, especially over one of her friends. How cooked am I? TLDR, I all but admitted to my girlfriend that I have a little crush on her friend. Update, a lot of mixed messages in the comments. For the record, I don't actually have a crush on her friend. I was trying to compliment her friend, but I realized my phrasing was insensitive. My GF and I are totally fine. She's emotionally intelligent and secure and knows how I feel about her. Thanks to the commenters who weren't assholes. Today I fucked up by letting my daughter watch iPad on an 8-hour-long car journey. 2 weeks ago, I went on an 8-hour car journey for a holiday, and for the first 3 hours, so far so good. Then my daughter says, "Dad, can I have my iPad?" I say, "Aren't you queasy with it in the car?" She then insists no, so I obliged. She was watching YouTube Kids with her headphones in when she vomited just after our food stop down my back. The vomit ran down my shirt while the next service station is 50 miles away. When we arrived at the service station, I could not get it out, so we continued on. However, even with her iPad taken away, she vomited again down the open window, and it all went in the crevice where the window goes when you put it down. When we arrived, the vomit had dried on my shirt, my back and the seat, and the other vomit was still in the crevice. I had a shower and scrubbed the vomit off of the seats using a paper towel and water. I then took the car to a car wash, who better cleaned the seats and the carpet. A bill of $130. They tried to clean the vomit from the crevice but failed. They said to go see a mechanic. Due to me being in a remote village in Scotland, there was no mechanic nearby, so I had to make the 42-mile drive to one. They dismantled the door and cleaned the vomit from the crevice. I got a bill of $230. I got back to the hotel at around 9:30 p.m. I had missed dinner, so I had to order room service for myself at 1,000 at night and quietly eat it to not wake up the others. I also F'd up by not having the vomit bags readily available. TLDR. My daughter asked for her iPad on a car journey, vomited down my back and the crevice where the window goes, the mechanic dismantles the door, mechanic and car wash charge me $360 in total. All my fault due to not having vomit bags readily available.